When the world offered her everything she ever dreamed of, she chose something rarer, her own voice. The Price of Being Seen is a hauntingly intimate story of creation, courage, and the quiet power of saying no in a world that worships yes. The laughter at the dinner table came too easily, sharp, polished, practiced like a family rehearsing normalcy for the camera that wasn't there, and somewhere between the clinking of glasses and the low hum of a birthday song, Maya realized she'd become the quiet background of her own story. The candles burned low in the cake's frosting, light flickering across faces that knew how to smile for photos, but not for each other. Her mother's house smelled of rosemary and guilt, the kind that settled deep in the furniture, the kind that survived years of polite dinners. Jessica, crisp as her navy suit even on a Saturday night, lifted her wine glass with the composure of a woman who'd never doubted her trajectory. To Mom, 60 and still more productive than certain people half her age, she said, voice lilting just enough to make the sting sound like humor. Everyone laughed, everyone but Maya. She smiled anyway, the kind of thin, practiced smile that keeps peace and swallows pride. Her phone buzzed silently in her pocket, a steady heartbeat against her thigh, but she didn't move. Not yet. Not here. Across the table, her father carved his steak with the precision of a man cutting into an argument he'd been saving. "You've been quiet, kiddo," he said, not looking up. "Still doing those online videos?" The word videos came out like a diagnosis. Jessica didn't even wait for Maya to answer. "Of course she is, Dad. It's her career, remember." Her smirk landed like a slap. "Influencing, creating, posting, whatever it's called this week." Brad chuckled softly beside her, his cufflinks catching the light, the kind of man who laughed only when it made him look superior. Mark joined in because he always did, his laughter a little too eager, a little too desperate to stay on the winning side. Maya exhaled quietly, tracing the edge of her water glass with a fingertip, feeling the tremor she wouldn't show them. "It's going well," she said simply. "Well," Jessica repeated, as if testing the word for lies. "Define well, Maya." "Because last I checked, being almost 30 and still experimenting with your future doesn't really scream stability." Mom tried to step in, voice soft as overcooked pasta. "Jess, please." It's her birthday dinner, not a cross-examination. But Jessica only smiled sweetly, the same smile she used to close deals and open wounds. "I'm just saying, Mom deserves honesty." "We all do." Maya looked at her sister, at the perfection painted across her face, the ring on her finger that glinted like proof of achievement. Once, they'd shared a bedroom and whispered secrets under glow-in-the-dark stars. Now Jessica spoke to her like a cautionary tale. "Honesty?" Maya said, finally looking up. "All right. I'm doing what I love. It's building." Slowly. The silence that followed was short but heavy. Dad cleared his throat. "Love doesn't pay rent, Maya. You're smart, but you're not planning for your future. You need something real. Something that lasts. Something that lasts." As if the last 7 years hadn't lasted through late nights, failed edits, viral near misses, and the kind of exhaustion that comes from believing in something no one else can see. Her phone buzzed again. Then again. She silenced it, feeling their eyes follow the motion like vultures scenting weakness. "Still on that phone," Jessica said softly, almost pitying now. "You're addicted to attention." "I'm addicted to creating," Maya replied, and her voice was steadier than she felt. Nobody spoke after that. Outside, the wind brushed the windows like it wanted to escape the silence inside. Somewhere deep in the house, the grandfather clock began to chime, and the candles on the cake flickered out one by one until the table was swallowed by shadows. In the dark, the glow from Maya's phone lit her lap for just a second, long enough for a single line of text to flash across the screen before she turned it face down. Universal confirmed. "Call me ASAP." She looked up at her family, their faces half-lit and frozen in the dim light, and smiled for real this time, small, secret, and dangerous. The night pressed on like a held breath, every minute heavy with things unsaid. The air thick with the weight of judgment disguised as concern. Maya sat beneath the golden light of the chandelier, its reflections rippling across the half-empty wine glasses like tiny storms, and she could feel Jessica's eyes on her even when she wasn't looking. "You know," Jessica began again, tone deceptively casual, "I was thinking, my firm's hiring another associate. It's entry-level, but it's stable. Benefits, structure. You could finally have a real schedule." Her words fell soft, but deliberate, a velvet knife. Maya smiled faintly, the kind that ended before it reached her eyes. "That's generous, Jess. But I already have a schedule." "Do you?" Mark interrupted, leaning back in his chair, his Rolex flashing under the light. "Because from what I can tell, your day consists of playing around with filters and waiting for strangers to care." The laughter that followed wasn't cruel, exactly, it was worse than that. It was dismissive. The kind that told her she was invisible. Mom set down her fork a little too loudly, the metal clinking like an alarm. "Let's not do this tonight. Please." But it was too late. The current had already shifted. "We're not attacking her, Mom," Jessica said, her voice cool and measured. "We're being realistic. Maya's talented, sure, but talent doesn't mean success. The world doesn't hand you a future because you want it. Some people build their own," Maya said softly. That earned her a scoff from Brad, who'd been silent until now, content to watch the drama unfold like free entertainment. "Come on, Maya," he said. "You're not building anything. You're just posting. Everyone's posting. What makes you different?" It was a question she'd asked herself once, late nights staring at an empty upload bar, doubting everything. But not anymore. She wanted to answer him, to tell them all what made her different, that the people who watched her weren't just strangers, that she'd spent years learning the rhythm of connection, the science of storytelling, the art of turning pixels into emotion. That her last video had broken 40 million views. But instead, she just picked up her water glass and said, "You'd be surprised." Jessica's laughter was quiet, polished, a lawyer's laugh meant to disarm. "You've always been like this," she said. "So sure the world would recognize your brilliance. So sure that if you just believed hard enough, it would happen. I used to envy that about you, honestly. But at some point, Maya, you have to wake up." Across the table, Dad nodded, the motion small but heavy. "She's not wrong, honey. It's not that we don't support you. We just want you to be secure." Secure. That word again. A cage disguised as comfort. The silence that followed hummed with tension, fragile and metallic, and for a moment all Maya could hear was the faint ticking of the clock in the hallway, counting down something she couldn't yet name. Her phone buzzed again in her lap, the screen lighting her fingertips. She tilted it just enough to see a message pop up. "They're waiting to announce. Need your approval before midnight." Her pulse quickened. She looked up at her family, Jessica with her perfect certainty, Mark with his careless privilege, her parents with their well-meaning disappointment, and something inside her shifted. Maybe it was anger, or maybe it was freedom wearing anger's disguise. "You know what's funny," she said, voice calm, almost conversational. "You talk about security like it's something you can buy. But I think it's something you earn, by risking something first." Jessica's mouth opened, but no sound came. Brad tried to speak, then stopped. Only the clock continued, steady and indifferent. Maya stood, smoothing her dress with a steady hand. "I should get going," she said. "I've got work to do." "Work?" Jessica echoed, incredulous. "It's Saturday night." "Yeah," Maya said, slipping her phone into her bag, a faint smile ghosting her lips. "The internet doesn't take weekends off." She kissed her mom on the cheek and walked toward the door, leaving behind the smell of wine, steak, and disbelief. Behind her, Jessica's voice rose, sharp, confused, clinging to control, but Maya didn't look back. The night air met her like a confession waiting to be spoken. Somewhere in her bag, her phone buzzed again, urgent this time. She finally allowed herself to grin. The city outside was washed in silver rain, streetlights smearing across the wet asphalt like liquid memory, and Maya stood under the awning for a moment, heart thrumming with the pulse of everything she hadn't said. The house behind her glowed warm and distant, like a postcard from a life that no longer fit. She could still hear her sister's laughter through the windows, brittle and desperate, the sound of someone who had to win even when there was no game left to play. Her phone buzzed again, Richard's name flashing insistently, and this time she answered. "You finally picked up," he said, his voice sharp with relief. "Maya, where are you?" "Universal just called. They want to close tonight. They're wiring the advance within the hour, but they need your signature before the press release." The rain hissed against the pavement, swallowing her silence. She looked through the dining room window and saw her family frozen in mid-conversation, the perfect stillness of people certain they were right. "You're sure?" she asked, her voice steady but her chest tight. "Completely. It's the biggest creator deal in Hollywood. You're about to change the game." She exhaled, the weight of years pressing down, the ridicule, the dismissals, the quiet nights editing in a studio apartment while her sister climbed ladders built by other people. And now the ladder she'd built from nothing reached the clouds. "All right," she said. "Send it." As she hung up, the door opened behind her. Jessica stepped out, arms wrapped around herself, her heels sinking slightly into the wet grass. "Maya," she said, softer now, the venom gone. "I didn't mean to, you did," Maya interrupted, not cruelly, just truthfully. Jessica blinked, surprised by her calm. "I'm trying to help you," she whispered. "You think I need saving, Jess," Maya said, her eyes on the rain-slick street. "But I already saved myself." Her phone chimed, the contract now waiting. She turned it toward the light spilling from the window, the numbers and legal language glowing like a secret long kept. Somewhere deep inside, something unlatched, quiet but irreversible. The first drop of thunder rolled through the clouds, soft but promising. She tapped the screen, signed her name, and in that simple gesture, the entire narrative of her life shifted course. The night deepened into something electric, the rain now a steady percussion against the car roof as Maya sat parked beneath a flickering streetlight, her reflection fractured in the windshield. The glow from her phone lit her face, 1,000 congratulatory messages, Richard's texts exploding with excitement, journalists requesting statements, her name already trending. It should have felt like triumph. Instead, it felt like silence. She stared at her own profile photo, the same half-smile, the same caption about chasing dreams, and for the first time, it looked foreign, like watching a stranger pretend to be her. She pressed play on one of her own videos, the one that had gone viral, her voice echoing softly through the car. "Sometimes we spend so long proving ourselves that we forget who we were before the proving began." Her throat tightened. In the background of the video, she could see the old apartment walls, peeling, dimly lit by fairy lights, every frame a memory of hunger, hope, and heartbreak. Her reflection blurred with tears she didn't remember deciding to cry. A knock at the window startled her. It was Jessica, drenched, mascara running, her expression stripped of pride. Maya rolled the window down halfway, rain splattering her arm. "You shouldn't be out here," Maya said quietly. "You'll ruin your shoes." Jessica gave a shaky laugh, breath fogging the glass. "I was wrong," she said, voice trembling. "About all of it. When I saw you leave like that, it scared me. You've always been braver than me, Maya, and I hate that I turned it into mockery." Maya wanted to stay angry, wanted to protect the fragile armor that success had just begun to forge, but Jessica's voice cracked, and something inside her softened. "You think I'm brave," Maya said, "but you've never seen the nights I begged the algorithm to see me, the mornings I couldn't afford breakfast, but still filmed a smile. I'm not brave. I'm stubborn." Jessica nodded, a tear mixing with the rain. "Then be stubborn now," she whispered. "Don't let this, whatever this deal is, turn you into someone you used to fight to be." The words hit deeper than Maya expected. She looked back at her phone, the contract glowing in her inbox, the promise of fame just a click away. The thunder outside rolled louder now, as if echoing her pulse. "Do you know what they want me to do?" she said quietly. "They want to own it. Every idea, every script, every word that came from me, they want to buy my voice." Jessica's eyes widened. "Then don't sell it." The simplicity of that answer was like air after drowning. Maya's chest heaved, the tension in her shoulders unraveling into something close to grief. "It's everything I worked for," she whispered. "And if I say no, I might lose everything." Jessica reached out through the open window, her fingers brushing Maya's hand. Or maybe you'll finally have everything, because it'll still be yours. The rain fell harder, drumming on the car roof like applause or warning, and somewhere inside the static of the storm, Maya understood. This was the price of being seen. The storm reached its fever pitch as Maya stepped out of the car. Rain slicing through the air in silver streaks, thunder trembling like a heartbeat she couldn't control. The world smelled of metal and electricity, of something ending and beginning at once. She stood there, phone in hand, the contract open a single tap away from rewriting her life, and for the first time, she wasn't sure what winning meant anymore. The glow from the screen painted her face ghost white, reflected in the puddles at her feet, as if the universe itself was watching her choose. Behind her, Jessica lingered in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself, soaked and shivering, but rooted to the moment like it might break if she moved. "You can still sign it," Jessica said softly, her voice nearly swallowed by the rain. "It doesn't have to change who you are." Maya shook her head, more to herself than anyone. "That's exactly what it does," she said, the words trembling but true. "It turns my voice into a product. My story into property. And maybe that's how the world works, but that's not how I started." Lightning tore open the sky, illuminating her for a heartbeat, hair plastered to her face, mascara bleeding down like war paint, eyes alive with something fierce and final. She remembered every rejection email, every sleepless night, every moment she'd been told to get real. And she realized she was real, every scar of effort, every flicker of belief that survived in darkness. The rain blurred everything except the glow of the phone. One last buzz, a new message from Richard. "They're offering triple if you sign before midnight." She stared at it, her thumb hovering over the screen, her reflection fracturing in the rainwater. Triple. The kind of money that could erase years of doubt, that could make her father proud, silence her sister, secure her mother's comfort. It was everything she'd once thought she wanted. But beneath that, quieter than ambition, she heard something else, her own voice, small but unbreakable, whispering from the years she spent unseen. "You started this to be free." A long breath escaped her lips, shaky but resolute. "No," she said into the storm, and pressed delete. The confirmation message blinked up, "Are you sure?" And she laughed through the tears because she'd never been sure of anything in her life. She pressed yes. The email vanished, the screen went black, and the night exhaled with her. For a moment, everything was still. Then she looked up, meeting Jessica's gaze through the curtain of rain. "I think," Maya said quietly, "I finally did something real." Jessica's lip trembled, but she smiled, a small, honest curve that carried more pride than all the polished dinners combined. The streetlight above them flickered once, then steadied, washing them both in a soft, trembling glow. In the distance, a siren wailed, a city still alive and indifferent, but in that small pocket of rain and breath, something sacred had shifted. Maya turned her face to the storm, arms open, letting the water wash away the last of her fear. The world didn't need to understand her anymore. She finally did. The morning after came quietly, with the kind of stillness that feels earned. The rain had stopped hours ago, leaving the city glazed in sunlight that broke through the clouds like forgiveness. Maya sat on her apartment balcony wrapped in a blanket, the world below humming with the muted rhythm of traffic and possibility. Her phone, now dry and silent, rested beside her coffee cup, a familiar weight that suddenly felt lighter. Notifications had flooded in overnight. Richard's disbelief, the studio's confusion, journalists clamoring for answers. But she hadn't opened any of them. Instead, she'd uploaded a new video at dawn, filmed in one unbroken take, her, sitting exactly where she was now, eyes raw but steady. "They offered me everything," her voice said in the clip, "and I said no. Because sometimes success isn't about being seen, it's about staying true when no one's looking. No music, no edits, no filters. Just truth." And somehow, that truth was spreading faster than anything she'd ever made. The comments began pouring in, people from around the world confessing their own small rebellions, their quiet refusals to sell their art, their time, their peace. The numbers rose, but for once, Maya didn't watch them. She just breathed. Her mother called, her voice soft and hesitant. "Your father watched your video," she said. "He didn't say much, but he stayed up to the end." There was a pause, a fragile silence before she added, "He said he's proud of you." Maya smiled faintly, a tear sliding down unnoticed. "Tell him I'm proud of him too for finally watching." They both laughed, a little broken, a little healed. After they hung up, she sat in the sunlight for a long time, feeling the warmth soak through her skin, anchoring her to a world that had once felt so far away. Then came a knock. She opened the door to find Jessica standing there, hair pulled back, eyes red-rimmed but clear. "You didn't answer my texts," she said softly. "I didn't know what to say." Maya stepped aside. "You don't have to say anything," she replied. "Just sit." They sat together on the balcony, watching the city exhale steam into the cool morning. For a while, neither spoke. Then Jessica whispered, "You were right. About all of it. You didn't need saving." Maya turned to her, a smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "Maybe we both did," she said. "Just in different ways." Jessica nodded, a small, understanding nod that carried years of unspoken apologies. The sun rose higher, spilling gold across the skyline. Down on the street, someone was playing a guitar, a thin, hopeful melody drifting up between the buildings. Maya reached for her phone, not to check, not to post, but to record the sound. Not for others this time, but for herself. The lens caught the light, the song, and the two sisters framed against the horizon in perfect, unguarded, real. She pressed stop and whispered, "That's enough." And it was. The camera didn't need to see what came next, the laughter, the silence, the peace that finally arrived like an overdue guest. Life had moved beyond the frame. If Maya's story touched you, don't let it fade here. Like, share, and comment what freedom means to you. Subscribe for more stories that dare to be honest about art, family, and the price of staying true. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to compromise.